Thank you very much, Maurice, for sharing your thoughts with us today. I hope if the audience has any questions, you can always catch him during our next networking break or just head over to the variant booth that's set up outside. I do hope everyone here is having a wonderful time and do share your thoughts about the conference on social media. Do not forget to use the hashtag CXNextUAE. As we keep the buzz alive, now it's time for our next panel discussion on a very intriguing question about CX within the organization. Do happy employees really make happy customers? And if so, how? Let's hear what our experts have to say about the same. As I call them out on stage, I would like you to welcome them with a huge round of applause. First up, we have Umesh Chopra, Marketing Intelligence Manager, Sharjah Cooperative Society. Umesh is an experienced insights and analytics professional driven by an interest in data-driven decisions. He takes pride in providing the strategic business roadmap to accommodate changing customer and market needs. With 11 years of experience as a marketeer spanning across both agency and client side, Umesh applies principles to practice in the most ideal way. We also have Vibha Thusu, Global Head of Marketing and Communications for HIMEL. Vibha is a strategic marketing communications leader, passionate about content marketing and storytelling, leveraging online and offline demand generation touchpoints, customer experience, and channel ecosystem to grow brand awareness, sales, and market share with an entrepreneurial mindset. And moderating this panel, we have Abhinav Mishra, Director Strategy, Martechvibe. Abhinav Mishra has nearly a decade of experience working with some leading media brands such as Bloomberg Business Week, Middle East, Khaleej Times, and Times of India, and now heads business strategy and commercial at Vibe Projects. Over to you, Abhinav.
Thank you so much, Sneha. Thank you for that introduction. Thank you so much to our panelists for joining us today, and thank you so much for you guys in the audience. And we are here to discuss a topic which I feel, or we feel as Martechvibe, that has not been discussed a lot when we talk about CX, is about the employee experience as well. And I think the basic principle of customer experience when we talk about it is empathy. And empathy can't be only towards your customers, it also has to be towards your employees as well. And also, we think that when it comes to employee experience, the CX professionals can hold up a mirror, use that to probably relook at their strategies, roles, actions within the organization. So if it works very well with your employees, I think it will work very well with your customers as well. With that, I would like to start off with my first question for today, and Vibha, I'll start with you, is that we always talk about purpose-driven marketing, right? Which is usually client-facing. We have seen brands that do not have a connection with their own employees do not succeed with purpose-driven marketing. How can we internalize this purpose-driven marketing?
I think the first thing that we need to do is move this conversation and the strategy from just the boardroom to the employees. Internalize it by actually not just reporting on the numbers, not just the business numbers, but actually probably creating a dashboard for the purpose that we want to drive in an organization. In the last 2 years, one important thing that we have noticed with the pandemic is that purpose-driven marketing, purpose for a brand has become very important. We are being carefully watched by our customers. Our customers today want to see how do we treat our employees. I've been on both ends of marketing. I've dabbled with internal comms, employer branding, and right now strategic marketing. I know it's very important for us to really live the values of the brand that we associate with it. It means that if my 12-year-old today understands what is the purpose of my brand, it means that I'm doing a good job in bringing it back to my employees as well. If you look at a lot of instances in Dubai where we as customers of, I'm not going to take names, but food delivery apps. So when we see encounters of them not being treated properly or being treated properly, our perception and emotions towards those brands change. So, you know, we are very exposed now, and we are exposed for a good reason. Happy employees make happy customers. They're your first touch point. So absolutely, this is a critical topic, and we need to internalize it. Take it to the employees.
And I also like how you said that I won't take names, but you gave an example that made it very clear for everyone. Thank you. So, Umesh, coming to you, I think we have N number of metrics when we talk about customer satisfaction. But how do we measure and gauge our own stakeholder satisfaction programs better? How do we do that?
Thanks for the question. Like coming from the grocery industry, retail industry, the stakeholder, rightly word you have used, has become much more important than just talking about customer and employees. So when we are talking about stakeholder, it is yes, our customers, our VIP customers, our employees, but it also includes top management, includes board members, and then it includes even the third party vendors, logistic partners, warehouse managers. It includes your even your suppliers at the end of the day. So having a strategy, a customer strategy which fits all the domains is something which all of us should work towards. And I'll give you an example. Like if I have a supplier who is not satisfied when he does the delivery at one of my store, uh, what it does is that it creates issues in product assortment, it creates issues in timely deliveries of things. And at the end of the day, it's the employees at that store who will be dissatisfied with that whole journey, and that will pass on to the customers. So the whole scheme of things revolves around the stakeholder itself, that we need to hear back a constructed feedback from each and every stakeholder of us to build a strategy, a customer centric strategy, which is built out of all the stakeholders involved. So that has become very important, and that's how we are also practicing in our organization.
But just as a follow-up question, because you mentioned something very interesting, but isn't that something which is a basic principle that always brands are supposed to follow? Why is it a revelation now? Why is it that we're talking about, or we have to highlight it? Isn't that a basic thing that brands are supposed to do?
It was basic and it was measured, somewhat managed as well, but it was not monitored in a way that how we are thinking right now in a customer centric approach. In customer, like we were talking in the earlier session, we have bells and whistles, we have big box, now we're talking DNA. We haven't thought about stakeholders in that manner. We haven't thought about employees in that manner. Employees, we do once a year survey and then we try to link it to customer. That's not enough. Suppliers, we hear now and then, that's not enough. You need to have a strategy which takes into account even the personalization space when it comes to employees. How to have that empathy which relates to me as an employee, for a supplier, for somebody who is the backbone of the organization, how it relates to that particular person. That is the change which we have to build in, that if customer is evolving, if our customer strategies are evolving, how we can evolve the other strategies as well.
And staying with you, Umesh, for the next question as well, I think we've established the fact, and I'm sure most of us will agree, that we have, as organizations, we have to invest in employee engagement. But what about the investment in making the employees understanding CX better, and the role that they can play in it to make it a very effective strategy, effective CX strategy? What about that?
See, I'll give again an example from my own industry. Employees may not understand CX as the way a CX team or a team responsible for understanding CX is. It's not about giving them a knowledge about contextual CX. It is about making them believe or live CX in a right manner. I'll give you an example. Like we have got in our head office, we have got one small branch opened, and that branch is responsible for not for doing majority of the sales, but to have all kind of NPDs, all kind of new technologies launched there first before it gets rolled out to the branches. What happens is when it is there, our employees itself, they get accustomed to it, they have their feedback, the constructive feedback comes in, and that's how they live the CX. Another example is that we have something known as ambassador program. So all our social media channels, Instagram, Facebook, etc., all the actors you see there, they are actually our employees. So we create mini influencers out of our own employees. Again, when you are creating a mini influencer person who has to act on behalf of a customer, he lives in the shoes of the customer.
How many have got carried away and left the organization to pursue an acting career?
Not really, because we as an organization, we come from a community background. I mean, the community is at the key of it. So people actually come into our organization because they feel that they can contribute to that. Not the other way around. Till now, it hasn't happened. It may happen, but yeah. So we have created those micro influencers, and that's how they live that CX. They don't need to understand CX in a more technical way, if I may call it. They have to live in a practical way.
Please,
Just want to
please.
add something to this. So, CX has been mainly a scope that marketing and the board and the sales teams have been responsible for, running in an organization. I strongly believe that CX is a very complicated topic. We've been hearing a lot of opinions since the morning in the sessions. I think the key is to demystify CX, which means that in every department, at every level, we need to explain to every employee how that employee fits into the picture of the CX value chain.
Yeah, exactly. That's the part of the question.
Yeah. Oh,
No, no.
I jumped the gun.
No. I was saying that that's exactly what I asked Umesh as well.
Yeah. So, me as a marketer, I understand what CX means. Umesh understands what CX means. Salespeople would understand what CX means. How does HR understand what CX is? Not just from a hiring perspective. CX has to be taken out of the boardroom, out of marketing, out of sales. As I said, every employee needs to understand which part of CX, what element of CX is that employee responsible for. I think once we start doing that, once we start simplifying it, everybody will understand their role at every touch point in that value chain that ultimately leads to fulfilling the bigger picture of CX, which has multiple dimensions, which we have been hearing since morning.
But and that's a very interesting thing, Vibha, that you mentioned, and continuing that further, because you mentioned how does HR understand what CX means? People or probably the back-end processes, how do they understand? Now, taking a cue from that, do you think just like in the case of customers, the last 2 years, of course, have been very difficult for everyone. Has that also put employees in a different state of mind where they're expecting a complete new set of things from their employers?
We spoke about this briefly.
Yes.
I remember a topic very close to my heart. So, I mean, it's for all of us. The last 2-3 years have been very difficult. The landscape of business, of employment, customers, everything has changed. There was that big resignation phase. People started questioning during the pandemic, why am I here? What am I doing? Again, comes back to purpose-driven marketing, purpose-driven employment, right? People are questioning that, if they don't find value in where they are, value in what they are doing, especially now that things have been turned upside down after pandemic, they would not want to stick on. And we saw that, right? We saw this trend. We have all the numbers talking about it, which again makes it very important, my first comment, to internalize CX, right? Employees need to feel they're working towards a bigger picture, a picture that contributes to something, a picture that they relate to, that the customers relate to. As I said, the customers are looking at us. And organizations are now more and more responsible. HR is now more and more responsible to ensuring that internal customers, employees, understand that purpose, feel valued, have the right environment to operate in these changing values and the changing purpose that's driving them. So that landscape has changed, and it's going to be a dynamic for a very long time. So yes, HR has a big role to play now to keep employees happy, satisfied, and more purpose-driven within the organization.
I want to
Yes.
add to it. I mean, it's perfectly what Vibha is saying. That's how it has changed. Just another side of it is that earlier employees, in an organization, they were task-driven. What 2 years have done is, and when the COVID happened, is that they have started giving lot of preference to relationships, to cohesion, to working in a more meaningful manner. And most of the companies, I do understand all of you are here, so most of the companies, they did it in a very nice manner, especially in UAE during the peak of COVID. So we took care of employees all of a sudden. We made sure that their health standards are taken care of.
All of a sudden.
Yeah, I mean, we never did it, but suddenly that was the prime responsibility, because at the end of the day, those employees, especially in retail, those were the ones who had to meet the demand, especially in the offline stores, etc., as well as online. So we took care of them, and that's how the expectations have popped up. Now, again, coming back to a point which I was talking about earlier, is that now since the expectations have become more personalized, have become more relationship driven, it is more driven by the fact that whether you know me as clearly as you know the customer. So it is a time, I think, we should start analyzing the data behind our employees as well. So, what makes them happy? What makes them driven toward doing certain tasks? And create strategies which are very individualized, which are very personalized in nature at the end of the day. We cannot have one strategy fit all, even in case of employee, just as the way we are doing it for customers.
But and it's a very interesting point that you mentioned, Umesh, because I remember when we spoke about it while we were discussing the panel, uh, and happened to mention it to one of these CX leaders as well about how you also need to use data to for employee experience as well, and he said that of course we want to, but the major problem is with the amount of data that we have for our own business, which is our core, we're not able to use that properly. How do we expect that sudden transition to happen that suddenly we're going to start we'll collect data and start using it for employee experience?
I have
So
an
he's
answer.
okay,
I have an answer.
great.
See, uh, I mean, I don't know about all our organizations, but like in our organization, we have got 2,000 plus employees, okay, total. And in our loyalty program, the customer base is 200,000. So I'm talking about 1% of my customers who are very niche. They should ideally contribute 100% of their grocery basket spend to me. So what we did is that we moved all of them purposely into a loyalty program, uh, same loyalty program, but with a benefit which is given to a most advanced tier of the loyalty program. So once they are involved, you know, a loyalty program purpose is to collect data, mine data, create personalized things. We are able to do that from a employee as a customer perspective. And that's what I'm saying. So the thin line between who is an employee, who is a customer, who is a stakeholder from a CX point of view has to change. That's where you understand, you realize that everybody is an individual who is looking for a certain need. The need can differ, but that's how you need. And actually speaking, I mean, HR, finance, etc., the amount of information we have on employees is tremendous. I mean, if we start using it, mining it in a right manner, apart from customer, and if both customer, if even if we have not gone into a journey of mining the data of customer and utilizing it, if we start doing the journey together, that would be a boon for, I mean,
So I
all
think
of
it
us.
all comes down to intent at the end of the day.
Exactly.
I absolutely agree with you. In fact, to your question, I just wanted to add that, of course, there's a lot of data. There's a lot of data for the business, and HR has a lot of data on the employees, but uh, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't start. As you said, we need to have that intent. Also, I mean, every organization has certain key drivers that they want to run with in the organization. They have the key drivers for the business, for strategy, and for employees. Today, in the given landscape where Maslow's hierarchy has changed for the employees, we are looking at purpose, we're looking at meaningful workspace, we're looking at collaboration, we're looking at health and safety, we're looking at flexibility, we're looking at benefits which are not financial, but benefits that allow me to be a better, more grounded person in today's changing landscape. I think the organizations can start from somewhere. We can start. If we know, as you said, we have the intent and what is it that we want to drive, very well knowing how the world has changed today, I think we can build in the CX for employees also.
Well, that's great. I think with that, we've come to the end of the panel discussion. I honestly enjoyed. I hope you guys did, and I hope our audience did enjoy this conversation as well. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks a
Please give a big round of applause for our panelists today.
Thank you. Thank you, Abhinav. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.